Well, whether you're participating in early voting, using a mail-in ballot, or waiting until voting day on August the 28th, we want to keep you informed on the biggest races this election cycle. Here to help lead this discussion with some South Florida journalists is Dr. Sean Foreman, professor and chair of the Department of History and Political Science at Barry University. Hey, Sean.
Hi, thanks, Pam. Joining me is Miami Times executive editor Carolyn Guniss and Palm Beach Post political reporter George Bennett. We have a lot of great stuff to talk about in the next few minutes here, and I wanted to start with the governor's primaries on both sides of the aisle. So, George, what can you tell me about a new poll that came out with the Democrats this week?
Sure, there's a poll that just came out that shows that Philip Levine has a narrow lead within the margin of error over Gwen Graham. Has Andrew Gillum and Jeff Green within striking distance, arguably. It's the thing that's interesting about the Democratic primary is these August primaries in both parties are historically low turnout events, and with 5 candidates carving up the vote, you're really going after a small sliver of people. And in both parties, President Trump has been a big go-to for the candidates to try to energize their base. Obviously, on the Republican side, if DeSantis wins, Trump will have been a decisive factor there because he endorsed him. But it's interesting on the Democratic side to try to fire up Democratic voters in a midterm election. You don't have an incumbent governor, and so a lot of them are featuring Trump in their ads, and Green and Levine in particular bragging about how much they're going to stand up to Trump. Gillum has an ad where he flashes a bunch of positions on issues, including impeach Trump, on the screen, which a governor doesn't have any power to do. They've all taken their shots at Trump because I think they see that as a way to fire up Democratic voters in the primary.
Sure. Jeff Green, let me ask you before I get to Carolyn. Jeff Green's from Palm Beach County.
Yes, he is.
He got in the race late. He spent a lot of money on TV ads, and he's particularly going after Trump. Do you see him getting any traction?
Anybody that I think his spending is probably over $20 million now. I'm not even sure, but I mean, when you have that much advertising on the air, it definitely will make an impression with people. So it's hard to discount that. Mm-hmm. And then he's been, he's gone after Trump. He was the first one to really say he's going to stand up to Trump, and then Levine and others have pushed back on him, pointing to some of the things he said that weren't so critical of Trump. But it has to have an impact.
Right. Now, Carolyn, your newspaper endorsed Andrew Gillum for the Democratic nomination for governor. Can you tell us how you came to that decision?
Well, I came to the decision because the candidates aren't really too far apart in all the issues that they're talking about. However, he does have experience running a city. He does have experience. He's an attorney. He also has sued the NRA a couple of times. So the chance of us getting some sort of gun reform happening in Tallahassee could be good. He said he's going to veto any budget that he gets that will raid the Sadowski Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Mm-hmm. So that I also thought is very good. And then he also has some really good plans for education, which he feels like if he can shore that up, then it will trickle down to better jobs, better, less commute. It's sort of like it's all tied together. So I liked him for that.
Yeah, let me ask, Andrew Gillum is African-American. He's the mayor of Tallahassee, as you mentioned. He's a mayor. He often says in the debates and forums he's the only non-millionaire or billionaire of the the other 4 top Democratic contenders are all very wealthy. Gillum has gotten a lot of high-profile endorsements, including most recently from Senator Bernie Sanders, including from some big Democratic donors nationally. Why do you think he hasn't gotten much more traction and attention in the polls so far?
Because he has not had a real national issue that will take his face and put it out there. He was calling for a moratorium on our Stand Your Ground law, that very controversial law, after Marquise McGlockton was shot. And he did get some time on national television, but they made an arrest immediately after, and that sort of killed the momentum that he had picking up with that issue. So it's back to now waiting to see who gets in the House and who will deal with stand your ground.
George?
One thing about Gillum is, I mean, he hasn't had the money to compete to get his message even out there. But the one reason I wouldn't discount him is he's the only black candidate in this 5-candidate race. There's 28% of the Democrats are black. And also then, this Bernie Sanders endorsement, Sanders got beat 2-1 by Hillary Clinton here, but that's a significant chunk of voters in a 5-way race. If he can energize the Bernie base, that could be significant in a primary like this.
Well, of course, we have closed primaries in Florida, so you have to be registered with the party to vote in the primary. George, you did a story about the recent voter registration numbers in Florida, and it looks like Democrats are slipping, even though people thought that maybe after the Parkland massacre, the students going out there registering voters might help Democrats, and as well as Puerto Ricans coming to Florida might help Democrats. What do you see going on? Yeah,
it's interesting. Since 2016, the number of registered Democrats in Florida has actually gone down about 38,000 some. It's less than 1%, but it's a decline. You would think, with all the talk of a blue wave that maybe Democrats were energized that it would translate into more voters numerically. It hasn't. And Latino voters, what's interesting, Latino voters in Florida have been more likely to register with no party than other voters in the past, and that's true of the biggest growth in the last 2 years in voters in Florida has been Hispanic voters, and a lot of them are registering with neither party, which makes them kind of a wild card for the general election because you don't know.
Right, but they have to sit this one out
on
August 28th. And, another thing that I think the candidates are not getting across is the message that people want to hear. So if they don't say the things that people want to hear, it's hard to mobilize them to go out.
What do you think people are interested in this year's election? What are the hot issues that are going to get people to the polls?
I think they want tolls to go away, and they want not to be sitting in traffic. So transportation, some sort of rail, some sort of high speed, some fix to the transportation system. The housing situation is out of bounds. It doesn't matter if you are working or not. We just don't make enough money to afford the housing that is available. And that is because we have foreign investors who don't have a skin in the game, who buy the stock and they sit on it, it's empty, and it drives up the prices, and we are in this gap.
Are these issues that the governor's going to be able to focus on?
Well, I think the governor should call a summit and get these people together, the developers, politicians, and even these foreign investors, and see how that they can work together to fix the housing crisis. And of course, vetoing the Sadusky rating that budget will help.
Okay, we've just scratched the surface with the governor's races. We didn't even get down to Congress or more local races. So unfortunately, we're out of time on this election discussion. Thank you for joining me today. A reminder to our viewers, early voting ends on August 26th, and primary voting day is Tuesday, August 28th.